When I was younger, every year for Christmas, I would drive upstate to my aunt's house along a stretch of highway. I cannot for the life of me remember the name of this road. All I know is it runs nearby Akron at some point. However, most of the drive is through rural areas with little to no towns nearby. So, it was the dead of night and my groggy self had gotten off a long shift and had to drag my ass to my aunt's house, since my extended family was expecting me the following morning. Near halfway through the drive, I realised I was low on gas, which irritated me. My brother told me he'd filled it up the day before, so he either forgot or was straight lying. I saw an archaic-looking sign for a gas station off the next road. It wasn't an official road sign, literally a pole with a slab of metal attached, with gas off next exit, or something along those lines just painted on it. That seemed a little sketchy, but people do the same thing for fruit stands on highways, so whatever. I pulled off the next exit on some dilapidated country-ass road through dense woods. The whole thing was creepy and surreal. I kept expecting Leatherface to come running out of the trees with a chainsaw. Anyway, I eventually came to the gas station and realised quickly it hadn't been open for years. It was all rusted and the convenience store's roof was caving in. The gas pumps had all been taken out as well. I pulled over next to it and checked my gauge. I would probably only make it another half mile before running out. So I called AAA and they said they'd send a truck over. Now I played the waiting game. I left my engine on because when the headlights were off, everything was pitch black, and my paranoid self wasn't sitting next to an abandoned gas station in the middle of a forest in complete darkness. So most of the wait went uneventful, until I sensed movement around the side of the old store, where my lights are pointed. I look up, but didn't see anything more. So I look back down at my phone. Then over the sounds of the night, I hear someone yell, "Hey buddy, come here," in a demanding tone. I look up, and I kid you not, there's a dude standing by the old store, looking towards me, illuminated by my headlights. He looked like a run-of-the-mill homeless guy. I was honestly spooked and figured he must have been squatting there. Still watching him, I rolled down my window and yelled something like, "Yeah, what's up?" Still mentally crapping myself. I had my foot ready to floor it out of there at the first sign of trouble. "You got any change?" "No, I don't, sorry man." I look up at him. He has this kind of vacant expression and is standing stiff. Then I see more movement. There are heads. About 20 or so heads, peeking around trees beyond the man I'm talking to. I can't see them clearly at all, but they are definitely people. Literally just heads staring in my direction from around the trees. I see another guy beginning to walk from around the gas station, and then I turned around and sped off. I got as far away from that place as my tank could carry me and updated AAA on my location. The driver came back over and filled me up, and I didn't say anything. But after he left, I wanted to call the cops. So I called the nearest town sheriff department. They said they'd send a trooper over, and I gave them the location. When I got to my aunt's house, they called me back and said whoever was there was now gone. They could tell a large number of people had been living there for a while. They found blankets, canned food, the usual. The whole situation still freaks me out, but frankly, I can consider myself lucky. I'll always have such a creepy story to tell. I'm just glad nothing bad happened. When I was about 17 or 18, I was driving home from a friend's house after a movie marathon. It was around 1 a.m. when I left, and a decent drive. I wasn't quite halfway when my gas light came on. I had a few creepy catcall experiences at gas stations, and was a little paranoid stopping that late in the middle of nowhere, as I'm only 110 pounds. In the end, I think if I wasn't so cautious, I could have been kidnapped. Or worse. The first gas station I came across was well lit and in a pretty open space. I drove up to the pump and looked around my car mirrors before getting out. As I was starting to pump gas, this normal looking guy comes out of the gas station shop and starts smoking a cigarette. The pump kept clicking off and not working, so I started messing with it, trying to get it to pump. This guy is watching me and laughing. I assumed he was just laughing to himself, watching a teenage girl try to pump gas. After getting maybe a quarter a gallon, I gave up and moved to a new pump. After this point, if I didn't do absolutely everything I did, I would have been screwed. When I got back into my car, I locked my doors just to drive to the other pump. I checked all of my mirrors before getting out or shutting off my car again. It was an old 90s Beetle that didn't always start right away. That's when I saw the guy walking up to my car. He was smiling, walking up to the driver's side window. Not wanting him next to me, I rolled down the passenger window. He paused for a moment, then smiled to himself and walked to the passenger window. He stuck his head all the way inside my window to talk to me and says, "Hey, I know this seems really weird, but I promise I'm not a creep or anything. My car broke down." He then pointed to a red SUV. "And I need a ride home. It's just half a mile up the road." I looked at him and said, sorry, but I don't know you." He says, "Oh no, I totally get it. I thought it was pretty weird as I was walking up here. But it's only half a mile up the road. I'm totally stranded." I then say to him, "I wish I could help you, but I really don't know you." He then goes on to say, "Yeah, I got you. If you had a truck or something, I'd offer to ride in the back." He looked at me expectantly. Again, I told him, "Sorry, no." All of a sudden, he looked angry. He yanked at my door, but I'd locked it before. Then he reached for my inside door handle through the window. My car was still running, and I slammed it into first and peeled out as he opened the door. The car taking off slammed it shut, and I sped off. I called the police after I got away. They looked at the gas station cameras, and right after I left, he got into his red SUV and drove off. If I hadn't locked my doors the second time, I would have been screwed. If I let him come into the driver's side window, he could have grabbed me. And if I had shut off my car, I wouldn't have been able to drive off in time. If I didn't double check my mirrors, I would have been outside my car when he came up to me. Quick backstory. I work at a gas station on a main route. We see a lot of travellers passing through. Only one person works each shift, and it's a 24-hour store. We are short-staffed, so I agreed to do an overnight. I'm female. I work in a state that has always had self-service gas stations. So, this guy comes in, and I ask him if he needs any help. He said no, he's getting gas at the pump, but needs to use the bathroom. So, I go back to work on whatever invoices we got yesterday. The guy uses the bathroom, and then he goes back outside. About 5 or 7 minutes later though, he comes back in and tells me that he's confused about the pump. He directly says, "You might have to come outside to help me." Customers don't often say this. They usually just complain that it's not working. So I'm already feeling weird about this guy. I shake it off because he looks like a nerd, and I don't feel afraid of him really. I look at the register to see what error it came up with for his pump, and there's no errors. The register doesn't even say it was in use. Even if someone tries to pay and nothing's wrong with their payment, it will at least say payment or loyalty timed out. But literally, it had no sign of him even trying to use it before asking me for help. I ask him if he wants to just pay inside. He agrees to, gets his wallet out of his car, and then pays $10. I give him his receipt, and he says, "Can you help me? I don't understand the machine." I said to him, "We aren't really allowed to leave the store during overnight shifts, as it's just me here, and it's not safe to go outside." I know, I don't know why I told him I was alone, but he wasn't seemingly threatening. He proceeds to say, "I don't understand what it's asking me. I need help. I'm not scary." I tell him again that I can't go outside because it's a store policy for the overnight shift, and say, "It's not that you're scary. I just can't go outside." I would have to tell a little old lady asking for help at this hour the same thing. Which is true. We can't even take out the trash during overnights. He starts to walk away from the register counter now, but then again stops at the door and asks me one last time to come outside and help him. I'm pretty annoyed at this point. I've said no twice now. I'm not going, so stop asking. I finally say in a super annoyed tone, okay, all you need to do is 1, pick up the nozzle, 2, select the fuel grade button, and 3, put it into your tank and squeeze the handle. I'm not going outside. Then he finally goes back to the car and the register tells me he had no trouble pumping gas. Also, his plates seem like they were from the state I work in. This kind of thing wouldn't make me suspicious usually, but the fact that he originally opted for me to go outside instead of bringing money inside at 3 a.m. is weird, along with how he didn't bother to use the pump before he came inside to ask for help, claiming that it wasn't working, and him not taking my first no for an answer. No means no.